This is the Hope Not Note podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by note.
I'm Dr. Dillon Caswell.
And I'm Brandy.
And we're here to bring you out of the note and into hope.
Welcome to the Hope Not Note podcast. This is a very special episode. Episode 50, baby.
Episode 50.
Big 50.
50%.
How old are you? Do you feel excited that you're 50?
I'm not 50.
You're not 50, but this episode is being released on your birthday, so it's your birthday.
Perfect.
I'm excited about this episode. We had a lot of conversations about how we wanted to celebrate the 50th episode. Do we want to just wait until we have the 100th episode? Like, what are our thoughts? And honestly, not a huge celebration over here, but it's exciting because it's on Dillon's birthday. And so the theme of the episode is something that Dillon is very great at and passionate about. And so I'm excited because it's a little Dillon themed kind of episode in a way. And that's why it's special.
Well, I'm excited to hear what it is.
Yeah. So this question came in from Josiah, and he asked, what does living efficiently look like?
Oh, there we go, Josiah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be excited. Dillon's all about living efficiently.
Oh, I love this topic.
Yeah.
All right.
So take it away.
All right. So let's start with, what does it mean to live efficiently? Being efficient means that you use the least amount of energy to successfully complete the task, right? Energy complete task. Not efficient because it wasn't successful. So I used less energy, but that's actually going to be inefficient because now I have to re-explain what I said because it wasn't successfully completing the outcome. So efficiency, I think of the episode of The Office with Kevin when he like stops speaking in full phrases or words so that like he's like, I have conversation faster. Like, it's not faster because we have to go back and have the conversation over again because we don't know what you're saying. So living efficiently is using the least amount of energy to successfully complete a task. I love living efficiently because it frees up mind space. It frees up what you can do in a day. And it's not like this thing that it's unobtainable for people. Like, there's simple strategies that you can use to live a more efficient life. And I'm not talking about this whole thing of like gas power versus wind power versus solar power, like that type of efficiency. I'm talking about our day-to-day living as a human. How do we become the most efficient that we can be to successfully achieve what we want to achieve in a single day? And the ways that I've really found that work is, one, I just want to start here with, you have to practice. You have to have some inefficiencies to learn what is efficient, right? How many jump shots do you take inefficiently before you learn what is an efficient way to take a jump shot? How many golf swings do you take that are inefficient before you learn the efficient way? How many softball, baseball swings do you have before you learn how to efficiently do it? So you have to upfront say, I'm okay with some inefficiencies, knowing that the system is being worked out, and I'm going to get that time back tenfold once I have that efficient system. So there's a little bit of work up front. And that goes into the first point of, this all takes extra work up front to then get it back later on. It's like part of my job for being a sports physical therapist that does venue coverage. How much prep work goes into the event versus then how much is actually done at the event. So much goes on the prep side so that when I'm there, it's more enjoyable. I'm ready, I'm prepped, I'm efficient, I'm ready to go because it's all been prepped. So it takes prep work. So how do you do this in a single day? And I want to expand it from a day out to a week. Is number one, you need to figure out what are your level one priorities. And at first you may say, everything is a level one priority. And we actually learned this from Craig Rochelle, that there's 3 different levels. There's a level 1 priority, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is mission critical. It is the only thing that you can do, that you have to do to keep the ship afloat. If you don't do that thing or those things, the ship sinks. Level two are the things that you kind of need to be in, but maybe you can start delegating it. The ship's not going to sink, but it's pretty important. Level three is everything else has been taken care of and there's nothing else for me to do. So now I'll go to that level three priority. It is initially hard to sit down and figure out what are your level one, twos, and threes because a lot of these things that you do in a day are going to fit into level one. And typically, when we do this with clients, we are challenging them. You really need to do that. There's no other option. Like that has to be your task. Yeah. Like, okay, what about this option? Oh yeah, I guess I don't have to do that.
Mm.
And you know, from like a business owner standpoint of how much I'm learning of like, hey, there's a lot of things I don't need to be doing. And in not letting go and not being efficient, you actually hold back growth. And so like know that with you delegating responsibilities, you're helping your team grow, which is going to help you get further. And this isn't just for business, but this is for family life. This is if you have an athletic goal, whatever that may be. So figure out what are your level one priorities. Whatever's not your level one, whatever's in level two doesn't deserve a lot of your attention. Whatever's in level three doesn't deserve any of your attention until level one has been successfully completed. Level two has been successfully completed. Now you can get to those level threes. So the reason I say that is because we all have thousands of things that we need to do in a day. Well, how do you start to figure out like what one has more priority versus the other one? And all of a sudden they're all priorities. And if they're all priorities, then you start to kind of sink in this ball of stress because you can't be in 1,000 places at once. Where when you have the level one priorities, you know where your attention needs to go first. So we're decreasing the uncertainty that the brain has in prediction, which leads to a more efficient system. But it's inefficient in the beginning because you have to take time to sit there and figure out what are these priorities.
Or it's perceived inefficient at the
Or it's
beginning.
perceived inefficient at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Because
Yep.
really it is efficient. It's just not, it's just going to take more time.
Right.
But that doesn't make it inefficient.
Right.
Right.
Right. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to say one thing that Dillon and I talk about is like, how can we win transitions throughout the
Mhm.
day? Like, that is a big efficient living thing for us that we try to prioritize in the sense of like, you're going from one task to the next or one thing to the next, and how efficiently can you move from one thing to the next? Because sometimes it goes from, oh, let me do this to, all right, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. But then when you're in the bathroom, you might be like scrolling on your phone for a little bit. Or when you're in the bathroom, you're like, maybe I can like do the dishes real quick in the middle of the day or things like that that end up making the transition time from, I don't know, anywhere between 1 minute and 5 minutes to 15 and to 30 minutes, and you don't even realize it, and then you look back and you're like, I wanted to start this at 2:30. How is it already 3:15?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I love the idea of the different priorities in your life, but then it's also, I don't know if you would add transition times into your list of priorities,
Mhm.
but I think looking at other ways that you can win throughout the day, especially like for us it's transitions. But Dillon, do you have any other examples of where areas people can win so that they can not only live efficiently but then have the time for their priority ones more
Mhm.
because of them prioritizing this efficiency?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think one starting out with how do you know well, let me back up, right? Efficiency is about energy. How much energy is being spent to successfully complete the task? If your level one priorities don't match up to your values, how much energy is being spent because the values don't match up to the priorities?
Yeah.
So this also takes work on figuring out what are your values, because now your level one priority should follow your values. And now all of your energy is being put into a place that you want it to be put in, which makes it more efficient because now you're not sitting there thinking about where you went wrong or what you didn't do. One of our values is showing up for people, and it makes our level one priorities easier to figure out.
Mhm.
It makes decision making easier to figure out because if it's a question of we show up for people, which means, hey, we going to this event? If we don't, we're not showing up for them. Or do we show up for them in other ways? But it helps our decision making. Now, if we say that our value is showing up for people, but then we don't make that a priority, and all of a sudden at the end of the day, we're like, man, I'm not living out my values. Oh, what's that person thinking? I didn't show up for them. Oh, I didn't show up for them. What else did I get done today? So now all of a sudden, all that energy is being spent on other things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not being spent towards what your values and your priorities are. So in understanding your values, that will help with your level one priorities. So first thing, values, then level one priorities. Now we have to put it into practice. How do we put this into practice? And you should know that when I first did this, it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done because I am very much was a free flowing kind of guy. I work Monday through Saturday, and the work that I do will be figured out as the day goes on. that, that was it.
That was how you lived.
That was how I lived. Client, yeah, let's go now. Okay, yeah, I'll go film now. Yeah, I'll go right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so much time of my day was not lost necessarily on transitions, but was spent on not knowing what I was going to be doing next.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how free-spirited you are, the brain likes routine. And we learn that from a very young age that when we have a routine and we go to sleep at the same time and we wake up at the same time every day, we feel good. If I wake up and I know that I'm having breakfast from this time to this time and working from this time to this time, and this is what I'm working on between this time and this time, and then I eat at this time, and then I work out at this time, and I work, and then I'm at this point at this time, I don't have to make decisions through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that saves my energy. So now I can successfully complete the task that's within that block.
Yeah.
So how do we put this into practice? We spend time and we look at our calendar and we say, given a perfect week,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like doesn't typically happen, but given that all the circumstances just worked well in this week, what would my day to day look like? What would I be working on in this block? And now you have that, and you try to stay disciplined to that as much as you can, knowing that it's okay to have some flexibility because you're still going to be spending less energy figuring out what you need to be doing because it's already written out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
The decision making decreases. What also decreases is the time spent on transitions because now there's not the 20 to 30-minute block of figuring out like, okay, what am I doing next? And if you don't know what you're going to do next, other people are going to tell you what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
And then that leads to more inefficiencies because then you're just being ping ponged or pinballed
Yeah.
all over the place. Oh, you got some time? Okay, you go do this now. I don't know how to do that. Well, okay, we'll figure it out. You go do this now. Versus saying like, hey, no, this is what I'm doing in this block to move the mission forward.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of work to sit down with a schedule and do that and then to stay disciplined to it, but it saves you so much time and allows you to put the energy into the things that you want to be putting the energy into. Other thing I'll say with this is food.
Mm-hmm.
How much time is wasted on a week going, what am I going to have for lunch today? You wake up in the morning, you start putting a lunch together. 30 minutes of your morning is gone from packing lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take some time on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday night. I know it's like, hey, I want to rest a little bit. Like, I get that. But if you can take an hour
Mm-hmm.
and just prep your lunches Monday through Friday, you now have that time back in the morning. Well, I don't have time to read. I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to get a walk in. Well, yeah, because you're spending 30 minutes a day figuring out what you're bringing for lunch and putting it
Mm-hmm.
together when you could just do it at the beginning of the week and then have that meal prep. And I know it's not perfect all the time, but the more that you can strive for it, the more efficiencies you're going to have throughout the week, the more time that you can spend on the things that you want to spend it on. And the reason I'm so big on efficiency is because I strive to have a quality life.
Yeah.
Like everyone talks about lifespan and quantity. I want to live till I'm 100 years old. Awesome. Like maybe I want to do that if I have quality.
Mm-hmm.
And where do I find quality? Well, partly in the work that I do, but too in relationships and friendships and being with people. You know, I love introvert time to think. I love extrovert time
Mm-hmm.
to be with people, right? If I can get done what I need to get done, that now frees up more time for me to have these things that fill my cup. So for me, it's like the efficiency allows you to have more of a quality of life because you can spend the time on the things you want to spend it on versus thinking about what you should be spending it on. Like
Sure.
the decision is made for you. It decreases the uncertainty of the brain. You're giving it certainty. And when it has certainty, energy is not being wasted on figuring out where it should be going.
Mm-hmm. When I think of people who may struggle with anxiety or doubt, or they almost are a free spirit, but they don't necessarily want to be, but they like I say this like with grace, but like they're kind of a mess. Like they live their life kind of chaotically and like a mess. And I just think of like how much more they could thrive if they took some of these tools. Maybe you can't apply every single one of the tools that Dillon has just listed, but if you could apply some of them, it makes a big change. I know in my previous work, we had volunteers come in and give a full year or 2 years of service, and most of them went from high school. A lot of them were homeschooled,
Mm-hmm.
and so they came from either a high school system or homeschooled into a volunteer but also a work environment, and they did not know what like productivity. I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of them struggled with how to be productive and how to be efficient because their lifestyle coming in did not look like that. And so myself and one of my coworkers at the time, we would sit down with these young people and teach them how to do block schedules
Mm-hmm.
and teach them how to maybe have a list of like 5 things that if they get all of their services done and all their tasks done, here are 5 other things that you could think about maybe doing rather than just sitting on your desk twiddling your thumbs or going and distracting somebody who is working because you're bored because you already accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. And so it's funny because I look back and I'm like, that like I just like laugh. I
Yeah.
honestly just like laugh at that, but like having a block schedule is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also say that if you are more free-spirited like Dillon used to be, um, I don't think that that has been taken away from you. I think instead you live efficiently, and then now on the weekends or in the designated time or when we're on vacation, like we don't have block schedule on vacation.
Right.
Like that's when we can really rest and recharge or like I guess like channel that side of you.
Yeah.
And that's all right as well. Like I think having in your schedule like time to rest and time to recharge and like fill that part of you is good. It's just if you have that like chaos all the time, like that's not, I don't know. I don't feel like that's helpful.
No, no, and I'm going to say this and it's going to sound like it's competing with itself, but I
Hmm.
promise as you sit with it, it will not.
Yeah.
I block the time for my free spirited side.
Yeah.
Like I know that seems like a competing phrase,
Hmm.
but it's not because now I know in the week when my free spirit thought time is.
Hmm.
Like I know what day it's on, I know what block it's on. So now I can channel that and when I get to that block, I'm like focused
Hmm.
on the free spiritedness of it.
Yeah.
Where before it's like there wasn't the opportunity for me to exercise that because of all the transitions and just thinking of like, okay, what do I need to do now? Where do
Hmm.
I go now? Wait, what should I eat? When should I eat? Wait, when am I gonna work out today? Wait, what game was I supposed to go to today? Where am I supposed to be? Like, there's no free spirit in that. Like, there's stress
Hmm.
in that, which is taken away from the free spirit side. So again, like now I block it and I want to say too, like for myself, like my blocks, it's not super specific, right? It's like block working with clients, block writing task, block podcast time.
Hmm.
Like it's not super, super specific like a checklist. It's just this is what my time is focused on in this
Hmm.
block of time.
And then you're able to give your energy to its fullest because you're focused on that.
Very much so.
Hmm.
And the other thing I'll say, kind of as another strategy, is being efficient is recognizing how you work as an individual. I have better thoughts, better processing, better conversations in the morning.
Hmm.
That's why every podcast we film is in the morning.
Yeah.
When I go on guest podcasts, as much as we can, I try to go on in the morning because that's when my thoughts are fresh. So my brain is firing to an efficient capacity. But I block my days in which the proactive work happens in the morning and the reactive work happens in the afternoon. What is reactive work? Emails.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you send out an email, and you may say, well, I'm proactively sending out this email to get this task done. What happens when you send out an email? You're getting one back. So even if it starts proactive, it's going to turn to being reactive. So I don't, unless it's incredibly urgent, I do not check my emails until after 11 o'clock. Morning, proactive. Afternoon, now I'll start answering tasks. I'll get these one-offs done. But the brain juice reactive task, like responding back to an email, doesn't take much brain juice. Thinking of your company's mission and are you succeeding in driving that mission, that takes a lot of brain juice. So I schedule that in the morning versus in the afternoon. So take a look at your schedule, and if that's you, block those times where the proactive stuff is happening in the morning when you're fresh and the reactive stuff is happening later on in the day. The other thing, the last point I'm going to say, so strategy wise, we talked about understanding your values, your level 1, 2, 3 priorities, blocking your schedule, helping with transition times, and 3, minimalize things. And what do I say by that? I'm guilty of this. Like, I'll get on my computer and there's like 30 tabs open. But it's very worthwhile for me to go, what am I working on in this next time block? Whether it's hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, what is my focus? Okay, my focus is writing, which means I'm closing down all the other tabs that have nothing to do with writing. Because, oh, look, Gmail's open. Well, let's check that. Oh, well, let's look at some statistics over here. Let me go look at that. All of a sudden, I'm an hour in and I haven't wrote a thing, right? Whatever the task is, focus on it. Minimalize. Get rid of the other things that are just sitting there trying to steal your attention. And the last thing that I'll say is the reason that I love this pursuit of efficiency, kind of 2 points here, is one, to be efficient, you have to be focused, and to be focused, you have to be disciplined. And I think that is a great practice to have. And I, again, like, this is coming from the free-spirited guy of how much this has helped me in productivity and in just quality of life. Efficiency takes focus, focus takes discipline. Discipline's great. The last thing I'll say is once you become efficient in what you're doing, it will drive you nuts when things are inefficient. And you have to pull yourself back and remind yourself that not everybody's trying to be as efficient as you are, and that it is okay if people are not efficient if they don't want to be efficient. But that is a struggle that I noticed as I started to become more efficient, is noticing all the inefficiencies around me and how systems could be put in place to make things move smoothly and have more productivity and things like that. And that's not always going to be the case, but know that it's the living efficient is for you to reach quality, not for everyone around you. Too.
Yeah, it can definitely lead to like frustration and impatience at times when it's like there's countless times in my life where I'm like, I have the answer. I know the right answer, but like people don't care or don't want it. And like, that's okay. At the time, it didn't feel okay for me, from my perspective, but like it really is okay. But I'd like to think that, our target audience, our people, the people in this Hope community that listen to our podcast and follow us on social, most of these people are not complacent. And I'm not saying that if you don't, like, I struggle to live as efficiently as Dillon, and I'll like own up to that, but I wouldn't say I'm like inefficient all the time, right? And I wouldn't say I'm complacent, but I would guarantee that most of the people listening are also not complacent. And so even if one of these tools is helpful, that's great.
Yeah. And I'll say, I think it's partly like my brain moves so fast and the competitive nature that I have, it's like always a competition of how efficient can I
Yes.
be, even to the point of like running errands. I'm going to this place first because it makes more sense because I can pick this up and then go to the second place, and which will set me up for the third place. So I can run out and get back within 40 minutes.
Yeah. Timing, ready, go.
Yeah.
Literally yesterday, that was you. Yes. Any hope stories?
So I will share this one on, I guess it's related to efficiency. If not, I'm going to try to make it related
Okay.
to it to be efficient. Also, I was thinking with this episode, I'm like, oh man, it should be an efficient episode. So I hope that it was
Boom, boom,
performed
boom.
in that way of efficiency. Or else that's pretty embarrassing.
Hmm.
So, what leads to inefficiencies? Doubts. Doubts will stop you from moving, they will halt you in your tracks until you get past those doubts. One doubt that I had recently was at a, what would you call it, like American Ninja Warrior gym. We
Yeah.
talked about it on the previous episode.
Yeah.
I didn't have doubts on the lower ones, meaning like the ones that were not high in the air that you had to have a cable attached to you in case you fall.
Hmm.
I didn't have doubts on the ones that you're on the floor.
Hmm.
Fall 8 feet, 9, 10 feet, whatever. Falling from 15 feet, though, yeah, I had some doubts. Had some
Or
doubts in
30
that.
or
And I'm not like terrified of heights, but I'm not a fan of them.
Mhm.
So the second kind of tier of the course was up on, how high would you say it was?
I think it had to have been like 25
Yeah.
to 40
Yeah.
feet.
Because I was
Yeah.
gonna say it felt like 50, but that was just
Yeah.
because of
I
the
mean,
doubts and looking down of like,
it
oh
was such
gosh.
a big facility that everything looked bigger. I
Yeah.
will say that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of like the running walls. Like I
Hmm.
don't know how high each of those were to
That's
then
true.
measure it, but they were
Yeah.
taller than all three
It
of
was taller
those.
than the warp wall.
Yeah, and this was like a ropes course almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't gonna go on it. But I looked at it and was like, I'm very happy on the ground. The zip line, I got to shoot a basketball. It was quick, so I was
Mhm.
okay with that. But like walking through this course, no, not gonna do it. So I was like, I'm okay with not doing this. And then I saw a little girl doing
Not
it,
not even 10 years
not even
old.
10 years old, having to stand up on her tippy toes to lock the thing back into the rope. So I'm like, okay, all right, she's doing it. And then I realized that I'm a little afraid of this.
Mhm.
And since I'm a little bit afraid of this, I should at least go try it. But then I remembered the science that could help me with this because there was 3 lanes. One lane was near the wall, the other one was near like just open space. I'm like, I'm feeling doubtful of this. So let me go to the first lane that's the closest to the wall because I remember reading research before when people have had anxiety that they would want to be in the corner of the room to have the walls behind them to feel more secure. And I think it goes back to like when we're developing, what do we like for comfort when things are scary? Swaddling,
Mm.
being comforted, having things close to us. So I remembered that. And I was like, I'm going to start close to the wall. So I went out first and got through the first one. I was like, this isn't so bad. Like I'm okay with this. And then it built up confidence and I was able to go through almost the entire thing, even the one that was over next to like the big area
Mm.
of where there wasn't the wall. And it was cool to just overcome that and to use the science to help with that. But with the efficiency, knowing that allowed me to do this efficiently instead of going out on the third lane where I was out in open space and getting terrified
Mhm.
and being stuck on the platform and asking one of the workers to come get me off of it. So that was my hope story
Yeah.
is accomplishing that and Brandy did it as well.
Mhm.
And I think we both overcame some doubts.
Yeah, and it also like as we went on it, I think you might have said this, but like we built more trust as we were
Yeah.
going. And so then when we finally got out to the third one, it was like we were already like confident that we could do that. And we also before like the floor wasn't underneath us, we both like purposely fell to like make sure, okay, this does hold us.
This
Like
does hold us.
we will
Yeah.
be good if we slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um So my hope story is just very simple, but it's your birthday, and my hope story is you.
Aw.
Yeah, I just think a year ago who you were, it was right after we got married and everything, and just like what this year has been, it's been an awesome year. It's been a lot of fun. But Dylan has just been such a hard worker, and a lot of business decisions have been made. We moved in the midst of this year. We got rid of a car in the midst of this year. We went out of the country. Like we've just had a lot of really great experiences, but also a lot of like decision making that also led to great experiences. But it's been awesome to watch you grow and live another year and really thrive and continue to pursue this mission of hope, but also this mission of like living the most quality life that you can, as we talked about. So you're my little hope story.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. I wonder if the little like balloons come up on the screen.
Oh, if I can figure out an edit, I'll try and do that.
But have a great week, and remember, every day is just not a day to become hopeful, but an opportunity to become hope.
The Hope Not Know podcast is meant for educational, informational, and personal development purposes only and does not constitute any health or medical advice. If you're looking for specific advice, connect with us to work with a Hope coach. The Hope Not Know podcast shall not be liable or responsible for any loss or damage allegedly arising from any information or suggestions in this podcast.